Hi, my name is Lucille, and I'm going to be sharing my personal worldview and explaining how my life experiences helped shape the beliefs and values I hold today. I will be discussing why I most closely identify with existentialism, compare it with Christian theism worldview, and explain how to influence my leadership, teaching philosophy, and relationships with others. I'm also going to reference that I might speak fast because this is my third time doing this and I keep going over time, so I'm trying to make it work. Preparing this presentation challenged me to think beyond simply identifying my belief. It helped me reflect on why I hold those beliefs and how they've influenced the person that I feel I'm becoming. Even though I don't personally identify with Christian theism, learning about it has given me a greater appreciation for how deeply our worldviews shape our decisions, values, and even our relationships. So, to understand my worldview, it is important to understand the experiences that shaped it. Growing up, I moved frequently, which made it difficult to build lasting friendships or even feel settled. Those experiences taught me independence and adaptability at an early age. I would also like to add that my childhood was very unstable, very unsafe. And as I got older, I experienced situations that made me question faith. I struggled to understand why suffering exists if there's this all loving, all powerful God. And over time, those questions led me away from Christianity, which I was essentially raised on, and more towards the belief that meaning is something we create rather than something that was already determined for us. Looking back, I realized that those experiences shaped more than just my beliefs. They shaped my values, they taught me resilience, responsibility, and empathy, which all of those continue to influence how I live and how I hope to lead as a teacher. All right, so my worldview that I most closely identify with is existentialism because it reflects the way I've come to understand life. According to Sire in The Universe Next Door, existentialism teaches people that we're free to create meaning throughout the choices we make, rather than believing we're born into some predetermined purpose. Existentialists believe that we become who we are through our actions. And this worldview resonates with me because life has taught me that I can't control every circumstance, but I can control how I respond. And instead of waiting for purpose to be revealed, I believe we create that purpose through our relationships, careers, and everyday decisions. That perspective encourages me to take responsibility for my life and continue to grow from those experiences. One worldview question that has had the greatest impact on me is, what is prime reality? Christian theism teaches that God is the ultimate reality and the source of truth, purpose, and morality. And passages like Genesis 1:1 and Jeremiah 29:11 reflect on this belief by describing God as the creator and the one who has the purpose for humanity. However, my worldview answers this question differently. I believe that reality is found in our lived experiences, relationships, and choices. Rather than believing purpose is assigned by God, I think that as individuals we create meaning through the way we live. But studying both perspectives helped me understand that they're answering the same questions, but beginning from different foundations. While Christians begin with God, I begin with personal responsibility and the choices I make throughout life. Another worldview question that greatly influences my beliefs is, what is a human being? And according to Sire, again, the answer to this question shapes how we understand identity, purpose, morality, and even how we treat other people. Christian theism teaches that every person is intentionally created by God and made in his image. Genesis 1:27 explains that because we are created by God, every person has this inherent value and purpose, and identity begins with God, and our purpose is found by living according to his will. While existentialism takes a different approach. It teaches that people are not born with a predetermined identity or purpose. Rather, we become who we are through the choices we make and the way we respond to life's experiences. This perspective reflects my beliefs as well. While I know our upbringing and experiences influence us, I don't believe they completely define us. I've seen people, including many of my students, go far beyond what others expected from them. And that reminds me that we always have the ability to continue learning and growing and shaping who we become. Although existentialism and Christian theism answers those worldview questions differently, they also share some similarities. For instance, both encourage people to live intentionally, take responsibility for their actions, and treat others with dignity. The biggest difference is where they believe truth and purpose originate. Christian theism teaches that truth comes from God and that our purpose is discovered through a relationship with Him. For instance, John 14:6 reflects this by describing Jesus as the way, the truth, and the life. On the other hand, existentialism teaches that meaning is created rather than discovered. We are responsible for making authentic choices and creating purpose through the way we live. And the same way we're responsible for those choices, we're responsible for the consequences that come with them as well. Studying both perspectives gave me a greater appreciation for Christian theism, even though I may not personally identify with it. It has helped me understand why many people find hope and comfort in believing their lives are a part of God's plan. At the same time, existentialism resonates with me because it encourages personal accountability and reminds me that my choices are going to shape the person that I become. Although existentialism is definitely what best describes my worldview today, it's not the only influence on my beliefs. Like many people, my worldview is developed through family, education, relationships, and life experiences. As mentioned previously, growing up Christianity introduced me to values like compassion, forgiveness, and even servitude toward others. Even though I no longer share some of those beliefs, those values continue to influence how I treat people. I've also been influenced by the ideas found in moralistic therapeutic deism, which emphasizes being a good person and helping others. In addition, humanism reinforces the importance of human dignity, critical thinking, and education. Perhaps my biggest influence has been working in special education. Watching students overcome challenges every day has really strengthened my belief in resilience and personal growth. Those experiences continue to remind me that people are capable of accomplishing far more than they sometimes believe. Right. My worldview has a very direct impact on how I approach leadership and teaching. Northhouse explains that ethical leadership is built on principles such as respect, justice, honesty, and service. While my worldview differs from Christian theism, these leadership principles still closely align with my own values. As an educator, I believe every student deserves dignity, respect, and the opportunities to succeed. My belief in autonomy encourages me to give students meaningful choices so they can build confidence and independence. Justice is equally important because fairness doesn't always mean treating everyone the same. Instead, it means providing students with the supports they need to be successful, whether that's accommodation, modified instruction, or additional encouragement. I believe each student deserves an equitable opportunity to reach that potential. Above all, I hope my students remember me as someone who believed in them. I want to create a classroom where they feel respected, supported, and confident in their ability to grow and shape their own future. Alright, so now that I have explained my worldview, I'd like to discuss the three core values that guide my life, and that is autonomy, justice, and integrity. Two of these, autonomy and justice, are ethical values discussed by Northhouse, while integrity is a personal value that kind of reflects the person and leader that I strive to be. Preparing this presentation really helped me realize that my values are deeply connected to my worldview because I believe people create meaning through their choices. I value personal freedom, fairness, and accountability. These values shape how I make decisions, how I build relationships, and how I approach my future career as a teacher. They aren't just ideas I simply agree with, they are principles that I actually try to live out every day. Northhouse explains that ethical leaders respect the rights and dignities of others. One of the key ethical values is autonomy, which means respecting each person's ability to make informed decisions. This connects closely with my worldview because I believe people should have the freedom to make choices while also accepting the responsibility for the outcomes of those choices. As a future teacher, I want to encourage students to think independently and become competent decision makers. This is especially important in special education, where my students will often need opportunities to advocate for themselves and build independence. Justice is another value that I feel strongly influences my teaching. Justice means treating people fairly, but fairness doesn't always mean treating everyone the same. Every student is going to have different strengths and needs, so providing equitable support gives each student the opportunity to succeed. I believe advocating for students and ensuring they have access to the resources they need is one of the most important responsibilities of an educator. My third value is integrity. To me, integrity means being honest, dependable, and consistent between what I believe and how I act. It means doing the right thing even if no one's watching. Integrity is especially important in education because trust is the foundation of a strong relationship. I want my students and their families to know they can rely on me. If I make a mistake, I want to own it and learn from it. I believe admitting mistakes demonstrates honesty and models accountability for my students. Outside the classroom, integrity guides how I treat friends, families, coworkers, and so on. I want my actions to consistently reflect the values because I believe true leadership begins with character. It doesn't just start when you get a leadership title. While knowledge and experience is important, I believe people are most influenced by the leaders they can genuinely trust. One of my biggest takeaways from this assignment is recognizing how connected my experiences, worldviews, values, and leadership really are. Before this project, I had never intentionally thought about how one influenced the next. My childhood experiences taught me resilience and independence, which eventually shaped my existential worldview. That worldview led me to value autonomy, justice, and integrity. And those values now influence the way I teach, lead, and interact with others. Understanding these connections has really helped me realize that leadership isn't simply about having authority. It's about knowing your values, acting consistently with them, and using them to positively influence people around you. I hope to model those values every day for my students and encourage them to discover their own strengths and potential. Preparing this presentation gave me a much deeper understanding of my own beliefs. I realized that my worldview wasn't shaped by one event, but yet many experiences that challenged me to think differently about purpose, responsibility, and meaning. I also gained a greater appreciation for Christian theism. Although I don't personally share that worldview, learning more about it helped me better understand how it provides purpose and hope for many people. I think understanding perspectives that differ from our own helps us become more empathetic and respectful. More importantly, I realize that my worldview influences nearly every part of my life, from the way I teach and the way I lead to the way I build relationships and make decisions. It reminds me that leadership starts with self-awareness, and understanding our own beliefs allows us to better understand and support others. In closing, this presentation helped me better understand the connection between my life experiences, worldviews, and values. My experiences led me to identify most closely with existentialism, a worldview that emphasizes personal responsibility and creating meaning through choices we make. Those beliefs have shaped the values that guide my life: autonomy, justice, and integrity. They influence how I lead, how I teach, and how I interact with others each day. Ultimately, this assignment reminded me that our worldview shapes far more than our beliefs. It shapes our leaderships, our relationships, and the impact we have on others. Regardless of our worldview, taking time to understand what we believe helps us become more thoughtful, compassionate, and intentional people. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope it's given you a better understanding of how my experiences have shaped my worldviews, my values, and the educator I hope to become.